Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Come on in, grab a seat. It is so good to see you at the very first pep talk of the Summer Novel 90 Writing Challenge in 2026. If you are participating, welcome. And if you're not and would like to learn more, there is an entire video about the Novel 90 Writing Challenge that you can see in the link in the description box somewhere here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Catherine. I'm a USA Today bestselling author, author coach, and I will be coaching Team Pantser during the Summer Novel 90 Challenge. And in one of our sprinters clubs, we shared in an accountability session about this concept of not weaponizing our writing goals. And at your request, that is going to be the first pep talk that we talk about. Right now, as of the time this is going live, we're in the middle of planning month. And that means goals are all over the place in our writer community. Whether you're a planner and your goals are about outlines, or you're a planter and your goals are about finding direction for your story, or you're a pantser and your goals are getting word counts ready. Goals are a big part of the writer journey. And a lot of us may be weaponizing our goals without realizing what we're doing and the impact that it has on our writing. So today I'm going to show you how to identify whether this is something you're doing and ways to stop doing it so that you can take these goals and turn it into the positive reinforcement you need to actually progress in your writer career and in your writer journey. Let's get started. So I just want to open the room up first with this question for all of you. What kind of writing goals have you made personally so far? We can just say this year, or have you been told you should make? If you feel more comfortable sharing ones that people say you should be making, go ahead and drop that for us here. It does not have to be word count goals. I know a lot of us do have word count goals, but it can be anything. I'm going to give you some examples in a minute. I'm just going to look over here. I want to see what you guys are writing in the chat. How often to write, how much to write. Yeah, we have goals, and they are often expectations that either others are putting on us or that we take onto ourselves voluntarily. Some of the ones that we are told by outsiders every day or other writers in our community are things like write every day. Just going to tell you right now, this is one that I do not do. I can't write every day. I have specific days that I write and then specific days that I don't write. But write every day. Good writers don't need editors, which is a veiled way of saying that your writing should be so good, or that you need to edit what you wrote the day before and then write something new, or edit on your own, or just somehow miraculously come up with a piece that's perfect as it is. Finish a whole book in X amount of time, 30 days, 90 days, 60 days, a year. Here at AutoCrit, we do Novel 90 to try to help you finish a book in 90 days as that motivation. But it doesn't mean you're a failure if you don't. And a lot of these tips are shared in the best intent, right? You establish a habit by doing it every day. You establish better writing by learning to edit as you go, but not everybody can take those goals the same way. Meanwhile, we're receiving outside expectations. We also have inside expectations. Here are some goals that we tell ourselves that we actually need to finish it this time. I can't be the only one who has hundreds of side drafts or dozens of side drafts in notebooks or miscellaneous file folders on the computer, right? We need to actually finish this time. We need to come up with a decent idea. In other words, one that people will want to read and that will sell, and not just something that's fun to pull off ourselves. That we need to make a certain amount of money on book sales for what we're doing to be worth doing. We need to write a certain amount of hours, and we need to write every day. We need to plan some, write some, edit some in this cycle. And just like the ones from outside, there's a lot of truth to these internalized goals, but neither of these, the external or internal, are necessarily powerful or weaponized. We're going to talk about the shift here and why some of these things that we constantly tell ourselves and that become our inner voice can either bolster us or set us up to break ourselves down. The truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, we need goals. I put a diagram over here on the left about SMART goals. And SMART is an acronym for goals that are specific, goals that are measurable, goals that are actually attainable and not way out there, goals that are relevant to the current project and not a side project, goals that have a deadline on them, that they are timely, not something that's coming off far away. We need good, smart goals. And there's actually a whole separate video here on the channel about how to make smart goals we can actually go after. Good goals allow us to plan for writing in our life. I don't write every day, but I have a specific kind of day where I do write. You know, if you're only off 1 or 2 days a week, and that's the only time that you can write, and the rest of the week you are a parent, someone working full time, a partner, a best friend, you're working multiple jobs and you're exhausted, it's okay. You don't have to squeeze one more thing into that day, but you need a routine of your own. So making smart goals allows you to plan for writing wherever that fits in your life, whether that's 10 minutes a day or 5 hours on a certain day on the weekend. It gives you objective measurements that you can use for self-improvement. If you are wanting to write for a living, talk to you first, my fellow authorpreneurs. If you're wanting to write for a living, writing and publishing is your business. And every good business has reviews, right? Performance reviews. That doesn't mean that the business is a failure just because one performance review is less than ideal or one is ahead of ideal doesn't mean that you can go explode out in growth. It means you know where you are and what needs to be adjusted. So using these goals should be an objective measurement for things that need to be adjusted, things that need to be adapted, things that you need to improve, and things that you need to take and really push because it's doing a really good job for you. So good goals allow you to move forward with these stepping stones in a specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely way. With that being said, goals have power. You and I, friends, we give our goals power. And the power we give them can either bolster us or it can absolutely destroy us and our writing craft and our writing career. If you don't go in knowing the difference, you could be setting yourself up for what you believe to be success and it actually come back to bite you later. I've got a couple examples. The power that you are giving your goals is either going to be affirming, meaning they buffer your abilities. No matter how the end is, they leave you with the ability to adapt, to push forward, to improve the next review, right? The negative side to this is if you give your goals destructive power with threats, they could sabotage your process. They could sabotage you and break you down in the end and actually defeat you instead of help bolster you. So as I said, I have 2 examples here. This is the first one. Shirley has tried 3 different times in her life to write a story that's very important to her. Each time she paid for classes, writing tools, and mentors, but then life got in the way. She had kids the first time, she had to go to work the second time, her partner fell ill the third time, and time just slipped by. And before she knew it, here she is, retired, having never written the story that she really wants to write and is very important to her. She's recently retired now and decided that now is the perfect time to finally finish her life's work and publish. And yay, good for her. Her family has seen her fail the first 3 times. And while they haven't said anything aloud, Shirley feels with her mom and partner intuition that her family thinks she's wasting her time on another attempt that will likely fail again. So she sets herself a goal. They didn't impose the goal. She set this goal. Finish this book this year or give up on her dream of writing. I'm curious if anybody on can resonate with this in any capacity. I have seen similar aspects of this so much as a coach, maybe not retired, and maybe again having no external pressure, nothing said aloud, nothing awkward, but this internalized, I'm just going to keep failing at it. So I have to give myself an ultimatum, which is what this is. It's an ultimatum. I pull this off this year, or I just accept that this book isn't meant to be. What Shirley has done here is weaponize her goal. What she means to be a fair or reasonable goal deep down has been chosen out of guilt for trying again when it's a waste of time. And in her opinion, it's a waste of time in her family's eyes, out of fear that she's going to fail again, and out of disappointment from her past failures, none of which were really her fault. And she believes that being hard on herself is going to make her actually do this. This is the reason she gives herself the ultimatum. Well, if I have this ultimatum, I will be forced to accept that this is the time to get it done and I'll actually do the thing. But in actuality, this isn't her being hard on herself or showing herself tough love in a positive way. What she's doing with this ultimatum is picking up the boulders of past failures instead of starting fresh and shoving them in a backpack out of the corner of her failure closet that she has had for years. And she carries them with her to a starting line that she could have looked at positively and said, it doesn't matter. Life, the past is the past. This is a new day, a new starting line. I'm leaving all the reasons I failed in the past. I'm not carrying my baggage over the starting line with me. I'm going in here a fresh start to see what will happen next. Instead, she's bringing all the whys that she failed, and it is going to weigh her down, and she hasn't even started yet. She's added a ticking clock. This year, how long is left in this year? If this example was right now, she has 6 months. 6 months to finish something that she has no idea how long it should actually take because she's never succeeded in it before. So she pulled a random time out of thin air, slapped it onto her backpack of failures from the past, and then set herself off weighed down to try to achieve something with the most devastating risk. A story so important that she has carried it through her entire life is now completely dependent on her ability to trudge through this. So, what she's done ultimately here with this goal is bolster defeat instead of empowerment. She is not setting herself up with goals that will free her and get her where she needs to go. She's setting herself up with an excuse she can use later. It wasn't meant to be, or I failed my goal, so I have to give up writing, and now it's no longer her fault. She's so afraid of failing that deep down subconsciously, she's worked it into this goal. And now it won't be my fault because I gave it my best. But your best when you're carrying a backpack full of boulders is a very different look than a best going in with positivity and a fresh mindset. So let's see what would happen if we gave Shirley the power of positive goals. Finish this book in a year or in this year, or give up on your dream of writing is an ultimatum stemming from you can't do this, her imposter syndrome demon on her shoulder, set to give her an excuse for when she fails, not when she succeeds. And instead, we're going to break down actual, measurable, positive, empowering goals that would get her to where she wants to go. We're going to ignore the past. None of these new goals are going to talk about her past failures because they don't matter. The past is the past, it's done. She needs to learn from the past, but that is the extent she needs to carry with her. It should not be threatening her new goals. So she's going to finish the first chapter and then get feedback. This counters that fear of what if my book's not actually good? And maybe that's why she quit writing. So I'm going to finish the first chapter and then get feedback. Maybe she's going to run it through an automated alpha or beta reader like AutoCrit has. Maybe she's going to ask a trusted author friend or a coach, or she's going to hire a professional dev editor to give her a first chapter critique. Whatever she ends up doing, this is a goal with the potential to bolster her, give her objective feedback on ways to improve, and keep her from wasting time writing a full book if she's not convinced that she's worthy of writing a full book. I'm going to add 30 minutes a day to my writing routine. This second goal has no ties to her past failures in any way. And it also makes the investment seem small enough to not interrupt her family's life, since she's concerned about her family feeling like she's wasting all this time. But also, it gives her enough of a change in routine to where this is becoming part of her life. This is not her permanent goal, you guys. 30 minutes a day is her starting goal. I'm going to write 30 minutes a day. And then maybe she bolsters it to an hour a day. And then maybe this becomes a couple hours a day. And her family will adjust as she adjusts and as they see the proof of this paying off for her. Because her family most likely wanted to see her happy and didn't want to see her devastated if it failed again. Going all in can lead to heavy burnout, which is why we encourage you to find routines that are maintainable, that you can keep up with long term. I'm going to take one craft related class a week instead of all in, write all the time, tons of classes. I just retired and now I'm still not available. No, I'm going to write 30 minutes a day. I'm going to take one craft related class a week to improve my writing. I'm going to try some different writing styles this year to find one that I can stick with long term. Challenges like AutoCrit's Novel 90 or many, many others that explore pantsing or discovery writing, where you write with no outline at all, planning, where you outline first and then write, or plantsing, where you outline a little bit and free write a lot. These challenges and contests are great ways to stretch your creative comfort zone and find a writing style that you're comfortable doing. You want to stretch your creative wings, as it were, and find something that you can do long term without feeling stressed, without feeling like this is a burden. So this last one gives her something specific to go after. However, it also gives her adaptability, the ability to position herself next year to continue writing and be content. Let's do the next one. This is the second example. Edgar has been working 2 full-time jobs just to make ends meet. His dream is to become a full-time author, which his family supports, but the finances just aren't in a place where he can quit his day job or invest in editing or fancy book covers or promos or any of the other things you could throw your money at. After much discussion with his spouse, who is happy to do so, he decides to sacrifice other things in order to give his debut novel one good chance at a launch. If his first book makes enough money to cover the investment, he can keep publishing. If it doesn't, he has to accept that while he can write however much he wants for fun, a full-time author career is just not in the cards for him. I have heard this kind of setup, this kind of ultimatum so much across many different times of life. This is not just for young families that are struggling to make ends meet. I have heard this kind of ultimatum come up from professionals who are like, I'm well established in my job and I think I want to do writing and I'm going to put out one book. And if that one book doesn't fully replace my however many thousands of dollars you make a year job, then I am not going to write anymore. You guys, let me just say right now, your single book, unless it has a lightning strike chance of success, is not going to replace a full-time job. One book cannot and should not be expected to carry that level of burden. What you are doing when you pursue publishing as a career is writing. That is one aspect. You're creating the product over here. And then publishing, that is the business, selling, marketing, planning for future products, developing those products. You're doing it all. And so the disconnect in what Edgar is missing there has left him weaponizing his goal. Again, it might seem like a fair or reasonable ultimatum, reasonable goal. Make enough money on the first book to cover your investment, or accept that a full-time author career is not in the cards for you. But what he missed was all the things he didn't know, all these things that are now just thrown on top of him when he's already exhausted. He still has to work both full-time jobs because bills don't quit billing just because you decide to also open a business on the side. He has bills. He has the pressure to actually create the book that he's going to write, edit, and publish. He has to learn how to sell said book to either an agent and a publisher or as a self-published author to readers. He has time with family and love with family that he is trying to keep in the mix. They're so supportive and he loves them and he's not going to want to give that up. And then he has work. So all of this is in his head and he's already tired and he's already worn down. And instead of his goal empowering him and being exciting, being something that helps propel him in this, he is dreading not bringing enough sales in to make it all worth it. And for the majority of new authors, even if you break even, he's looking at it wrong, wanting to make enough to cover the investment that is not going to give him enough money to then invest in something else, right? So there's so much to this that he needs to learn, and he doesn't know it yet. And what is going to happen, and what happens a lot when you go in with this ultimatum for yourself, is you cross into business and you realize that, oh, there's a lot that goes into starting a business financially and emotionally and time-wise, but then you don't adjust your goal because you gave yourself an ultimatum. If I can tell anyone in this situation one thing to really carry with you, it is that you made the goal. You can adjust the goal. Good goals are adjustable and adaptable when we are presented with information we did not have before. It is not the same thing to push back and put off a goal that it is to realize you genuinely have other things that have to be done and now incorporate those into an adjusted goal. It is not failure. You have not lost. So pivot. Flexibility is key. So what are some positive goals we can give Edgar here? We can take Edgar's weaponized goal, make enough money on the first book to cover the investment, or accept that a full-time author career is just not in the cards for you, and we can pivot it to adapt for the things he is going to have to do to establish a business. I'm going to do some research on the marketability of my story idea before I decide how to write and publish it. If this is something he's creating to be a product and it has to sell well, he has to know how to position it in the market before it ever goes out. He has to know that he is writing it the way that is going to get it the best visibility. And then he has to decide whether to query for traditional publication or self-publish. I'm going to build a platform organically while writing and editing. And what this means is that I am going to pursue Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Blue Sky, wherever my readers are, I am going to find them. I'm going to start sharing about my book. I'm going to start sharing about my characters. I'm going to start connecting with other authors. I am going to start building an audience so that when I'm ready to put the book up on pre-order or when I'm ready to put the book out to publish, I have people to buy it. Otherwise, you're going to throw your book out there and who will buy it? And you're setting yourself up to fail. So once he realizes that that side is there, he needs to pivot to incorporate that goal. I'm going to find a mentor or coach to help me determine the business steps and look at those separately from my writing itself. If you're taking AutoCrit Self-Publishing Intensive with Becca, it has phenomenal structure and steps and things to work through on a business side as a writer that have nothing to do with planning and writing and editing a book. Planning and writing and editing a book is one side to being an author, an entrepreneur. The other side is business. It's promotions, marketing, covers, accounting, taxes, sales, in-person events, all of those other things that feel so overwhelming. And the best thing that Edgar can do for himself, if his end goal is to cover what he invests, is to invest the time and energy in understanding the business so that he forms the best business that he can. So if Edgar can pause the initial ultimatum and put in powerful, bolstering goals, he can take something that was really negative and overwhelming, and instead of going, oh, well, that's not going to happen now, walk away, he can turn it into a learning experience. And that learning experience, sure, might let him know that I don't want to do this full time, or it can bolster that desire. It can let him know that instead of a 6-month journey, the journey to full-time entrepreneurship might be a few-year journey, and then he can balance that accordingly. And a few-year journey is way easier to spread your budget out for than a 6-month journey too. In the end, if you are in a situation similar to Edgar, where the product and the author business is where your goals lie, think about opening doors. The lowdown here between weaponized goals and power and empowering goals is that weaponized goals deep down are destructive and they don't leave you feeling empowered. They leave you feeling like you're on the defense, like you are running from something that is chasing you down. And usually that is past failures. They close doors. The end of the goal ends in an ultimatum that takes away something from you instead of giving you something. That is a weaponized goal. They don't push for your potential because they don't believe you have it, because you didn't believe you had it when you gave yourself the ultimatum. They push you for pressure's sake. They push you to give you a convenient excuse you can use if you quit. They push you because they are the imposter syndrome demon on your shoulder who is whispering in your ear that you can't, that you don't want to believe, but you do deep down. This is a weaponized goal. It takes from you, it blocks you, it breaks you down under the guise of pressure and being tough on yourself and pushing yourself. If you can't be honest with anybody else, be honest with yourself. Bravado does not get you what you want out of your life. And if this is something you genuinely want, pivot your mindset to this. Powerful, bolstering goals pave paths for you. They do not throw backpacks full of past failure boulders onto your back to trudge over the start line with and never reach a finish line with. They are your potential. And we're not talking pie in the sky dream potential. We want them to be realistic, remember? They need to be achievable and time bound and measurable and attainable, right? The attainable. However, they need to pave a path that you can see yourself realistically going down. And they do that by giving you steps. I'm going to learn about the author business from a mentor. I am going to invest in building an organic platform. I'm going to take the time I need to learn a writing style that fits my life and my brain. Those are all positive things that are paving paths that you can then follow. Once our first example learns what writing style is a good fit for them and successfully incorporates 30 minutes a day here and there and successfully achieves their other goals, then their path is open to expand those goals. So it is building stepping stones that lead to success. instead of here's this quicksand of your past failures and now you need to build a castle on it and don't sink and good luck. Your positive goals should open doors. They should reveal next steps, even if they are not steps you wanted. You just wanted to write the book, publish the book, and make your money back. And then you realize there's all these other steps, but they revealed the next steps. That's their job. They push you toward growth and opportunity, which is not always pleasant. These are not always going to be pleasant goals, but they push you to growth. They are not pushing you away from something that you dread or fear or suspect to be true with your imposter syndrome demon. Remember, friends, that kindness is key. Show yourself the same kindness that you would show to another author if they were the ones sharing their fears and goals and dreams with you. If someone sat down across from you and said, if I don't finish this book by the end of novel 90, I'm never going to write again, what would you tell them? Would you go, oh yeah, you're right. If you can't finish it by the end of novel 90, you should never write a book again? No. Most of us are going to be kind to them and go, hey, if you've never finished a book before, if this is your first time writing a book, 90 days is really ambitious, which is why it's a challenge. Let's just go for progress. As we say here on the coaching team, it's about progress, not perfection. We want you to finish the story in 90 days, and we're going to try to help you get across that finish line. But sometimes life just lifes, dude. And this is an adaptability thing. We want you more to walk away knowing the writing style that fits for you, knowing how to adapt to when life throws things your way, knowing how to adapt to what your story needs to succeed. To see you put out a polished book is more important than see you put your book in grand prize status too early. We want you to be a success long term, and your peers want you to be a success long term. And you should feel the same way toward yourself that you would feel if it was somebody else. Just because you started a journey, by the way, using one of those weaponized goals or any other manner of weaponized goals that is there because you're running from something or that has that dangerous ultimatum and nothing empowering, just because you started this journey with a weaponized goal does not mean you have to keep pursuing that goal. You made the goal. You can change the goal. I give you permission, if you need it from an outside source, today, to take that goal that you are running from or dreading and turn it into something positive. You have permission to adapt your goal. So go do it. Quit being imposter syndrome demon inspired, fear inspired, dread inspired. Quit putting your biggest goals up on the, on the chopping block here for something that you control. Take power back over your writing journey, over your publishing journey, and keep pursuing positive goals. And if at some point your initially positive goal turns out to be something that has somewhere along the line twisted to negativity, for example, word count goals. I want to write 1,000 words a day. Or the example earlier, I'm going to write 30 minutes a day. Becomes something that is just not doable. Adjust it. Get back to the positive side where it is opening doors. It isn't shutting doors. It isn't shutting you down, or it is not serving its purpose. Transparency changes everything. And a lot of us, since we're writers, are used to being all on our own. So transparency with ourselves, even if we have nobody else to tell the truth to, is important. But if you are looking for a community, I want to invite you personally to Novel 90. We just kicked off this challenge for the summer. We are going to try to plan and write and edit a novel in the next 90 days. And you can bring a work in progress, one that you've been working on for a long time, or one that you just now started, or you can come start something brand new. Come test writing styles that work for you. Come get encouragement and accountability from a community who gets it, from coaches who get it, who have made those ultimatum and bad goals, and now we're trying to come back and give ourselves empowering goals and not weaponized goals. Come do this with us. We would love to have you. We believe in you. And I hope we'll see you guys on the next pep talk. Thanks for being here, everyone. Take care. Bye.